Hey guys, Michael Valentino from Crusader Caravans in Campbellfield, Victoria. Today in our handover tutorial video, we're talking about airbags. Not the sort on the car, the sort on the caravan. So with the airbags, this is a stage 4 system. This is an auto leveling system. They're available in different stages. The stage 3 is typically the one that most of our customers are gravitating towards. It is the one with the remote, because face it, who wants to sit around pumping these things up with a foot presser? Haven't got time for that. So the remote is the easiest and most efficient way to do it. It comes with an onboard compressor located underneath the chassis rail. It also comes with a tank to hold the reserve of air, and obviously your airbag box, of course, on the chassis. These have changed from year to year sort of thing, but the principles are still relatively the same. And then of course the airbags themselves on the actual suspension trailing arm, which are obviously, you know, airbags like these guys underneath here. Nice and firm, just how I like it. Now, the remote is the main culprit here. So we've got on the remote, we've got A, B, C, D. The way I visualize this in my head is this is our van with an A-frame facing like so. A is going to increase the height of my door side wheel, or my door side wheels. B is going to increase, so it's got the big emblem, so I always think big is increase. Big's going to increase the side that is the off side, because that's the second tire over. C is the one under A, and it's a mini one, which means it compresses and then obviously decreases the overall height of the traveling of that side. So you can literally throw this whole caravan on the piss here. That thing's looking off its head. So it's a well and truly, this thing's got some serious dip to it. And then of course, D, finally, is the other side. Now some people, oh, they're back to front. It's really quite straightforward. You've got up, up, down, down, and you've got the big buttons for the increase, little buttons for the decrease. As I said, these have changed a little bit, but anything sort of from, you know, mid last year to now, this will be the system we're working with from the team of TuffRide. So we've pretty much blown out the whole suspension side. We've pulled all the air out. So this is on manual mode. So there's two modes for this particular system. There's auto and then there's manual. This is a manual mode because I can choose to increase this side. You'll hear the compressor fire up, wheels slightly turn back. It's pretty amazing to watch something to this size do this sort of stuff, but hey, that's what you've paid the money for. So it's lifted it right up. So I think there's about 200 mils worth of movement in this. It's pretty significant. The compressor's running underneath, of course. Now, let me introduce you to our box. You're gonna hear the compressor running just here, so we'll just try and tune him out. These are our tips. These are what TuffRide and Intelligent Engineering are suggesting. So do not travel with auto leveling on. That is a pretty self-explanatory suggestion. There is no room for interpretation there. Don't make any. Pretty straightforward. You don't travel with it on. Hitch the caravan to the tow vehicle and secure the locking pin. It'd be a bit interesting if you did it. Ensure you've packed properly for safe towing. That's great. All the heavy stuff down low over the center of the wheels. Heavier the ball weight, the better it tracks to the back of the vehicle. Nothing over 350. Just keep it in mind. Drive to the nearest flat level surface. Right now we've got a bit of a dip coming toward down, but that is a suggested requirement. Set the airbag control to auto level, wait until complete. Set the airbag controller back to manual before departure. It's a 5-step process. It's really easy. Some people wouldn't have got this plaque, brand new, but this is the suggested travel requirements for the suspension. Let's open it up, see what we got. Boop. Cool. So we got 4 and 64. Now, you have an air out, so you can put your compressor hose onto this. So this is what it's going to look like. It comes in a little bag. You get all of your hoses, so this customer will pick this up and get all these bits and bobs. You've got an air pump gun. You've got a Suzy coil cable that goes with the air pump gun to be able to inflate your tires. That's a pretty smart way of doing it. This guy clips onto here, and then obviously this into this like so. Somehow or another. And then what we do is we go pump up tires from desired location. We have remote, left, right for manual increase. You really won't be using these unless, like, you know, you need to, something's gone wrong, but otherwise really straightforward. You've got a dial for your left and right airbag pressures. So just assuming here, just because this side here, the door side's incredibly high inflated, yeah. So that's door side, offside. Right, so watch this. We'll start increasing the offside here. You can start seeing the airbag increase. You'll see all that. It'll start lifting. It's pretty full on. Right, bang. Bob's your uncle, right? So we're sweet. Now, this is an on remote. So when would you use remote? So remote would be like if the auto function's not really playing ball, you're not really happy with the level, you pull up at a caravan park, wife's got a dicky knee, you've got a dicky knee, dog has a dicky knee, anyone has a dicky knee, you would go straight and you would drop the whole door side to make the step easier to get into the caravan, because all of a sudden you've just made the height like 400 mil lower, so no one's reaching. Or let's say the step's too low and you need to be able to get the step higher, you can increase the door step height because you've just pulled up one side of the caravan. So I'm just dropping the other side now. The really cool thing with remote option is you can pretty much do whatever you want. You can drop one side, up one side, down one side, whatever it may be. But this is you're going to be obviously picking and choosing when you use these bits and pieces. Really important, you'll notice I haven't just turned the air compressor off. If you turn the compressor off and then turn it back on, it has a 30 amp fuse. You're going to blow that because it's a massive over 30 peak of power straight back to it from the compressor, because it's in its natural running state. You let it finish before you can turn things off. If you turn it off halfway through, you're going to blow a fuse. There's a relay located up here. It's really not a bad idea to get a spare one of these. You can just pull it off, match it at the Repco, really straightforward, just an on or off switch. And it's got a 30 amp fuse up here as well. It's a little green glass fuse. Now you could turn this off, turn it back on, turn it back on, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. It doesn't really make a difference as long as you don't do it while the compressor's running, and then you got a really bad time. So, drain. If you wanted to drain the whole airbag tank, that would be that. And it comes out of this little hose right at the bottom. Oh, sorry, Phoebe. Like so, right? And that's going to drain the whole system, right? It's going to drain the airbag tank, not the airbags. Won't drain the airbags unless you actually obviously press the remote. Manual, auto, so these are like your tires. You would hook like a pump onto these and pump them up. So if something went wrong and you needed a manual inflation, you lost your 12 volt, for instance, you could manually inflate and do that even if the batteries happen to die inside the caravan. And then obviously on or off switches up here. It's very self-explanatory. There's a little bit more to it. Like, you know, if you wanted a secondary remote, you can teach another remote to it. That's a completely different tutorial and a lot more coffees for Michael, especially if you want to tip us something to get us to teach you that. That's definitely a process. So we'll let this do its thing. We're gonna let it finish running, and what we'll do is we'll come back and we're gonna give you a run through of the auto feature. All right, guys. So how do we use the auto feature? First of all, it's really important to note auto leveling. It's such a thought process of what does it actually do. It does not automatically level your caravan. If you're standing in the shower and water's rushing to one side of the van, it's not for that. It's auto leveling for travel. It doesn't do a thing that I refer to as horizon leveling. Horizon leveling is a process of going, that is straight. This doesn't do that. This might still be like this. What this enables is it feels the weight coming down on each side of the van or what you've packed to the van, and it will level off the weight that it feels through the bars that are controlling the actual auto leveling feature. So it gets to a happy spot. It knows what its happy spot is, but it might mean that you've got 68 PSI, 75 PSI. It's not exact. It is not horizon leveling. If you want to buy your airbag systems and you expect you're going to pull up to a caravan site and go, ripper, that isn't exactly what it's going to do. This guy here, it will get you close enough, but to be completely fair, when you're at a caravan park, most people want to be able to drop one side, lift one side to be able to get it level. You don't necessarily want the van this high off the ground. You might want the caravan that high off the ground. You've got a dicky knee, remember? I said it heaps of times earlier. So alternatively, you want to be able to control that with the remote. The auto function allows for the van to be perfectly weighted and then travel like that. So that is your auto feature. So how does it work? Great question. We're going to go both on auto, flick it over, and this thing's going to go brrrr and start running. It'll lift one side of the van up, keeping in mind we're on a lean here, but it's going to get as close as it can to level, as close as it can to being at level. Now with this current ground setup, with the current weight requirements, we're at 61, 44. And if we have a look over at the back of the caravan, we will notice that it's probably compensating for the tilt of the ground over to one side. See? So it's not perfectly level, but she's getting close enough, and especially if it was on level ground, it'll start coming up. It doesn't control the pitch of the caravan. That's obviously controlled off your vehicle. But really, that guy there is going to run. Once the compressor stops, we're going to follow the instructions of the box. Compressor stops, we turn it back to remote, and we drive. That is the auto leveling feature of the airbag systems. If you want to be able to find out a little bit more about the TuffRide suspension, or you want some spare parts like a spare airbag, like some running gear, whatever you're after with these guys, spare bearings, whatever it may be, you can actually head to the TuffRide website. It'll be included in the description below. Alternatively, all we want to do is we want to make sure that our air pressure is holding. We're not losing air pressure over the period of the time. If you do, you need to speak to your dealer, your contact dealer representative, or your or obviously the Crusader Caravans manufacturing facility, Intelligent Engineering, or TuffRide Suspension themselves. If you want any further clarifications, leave them in the comments below. We hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. Hope you like it, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.